Cindrella by Tony Johnston and James Waha. Adapted by Miss Whiteman's class. Once upon a time, an old-growth forest abandoned Bigfoot's lives. An enormous gnat towered above the other trees close to their camp. Inside its hollow halls lived a dashing Bigfoot prince. He was tall and dark as a Douglas fir with feet like cedar stumps. He was horrendously hairy that Bigfoot women near and far longed to marry him. Wherever they saw him marching along, they blocked his path like deadfalls. They draped wild flowers around themselves. They batted their matted eyelashes to stun him in love. But the prince learned nature best. In this place there lived a Bigfoot woman with 3 daughters. The third was a stepchild. The daughters were puny things with dinky feet, almost furless, and as sour as little green berries. They spent their days bathing and combing their fur with pine cones. The stepdaughter was just the opposite. She was as woolly as a mammoth, golden as a banana sled, which made like log canoes. She loved nature, would harm no creature. Her stepsisters despised her, and they made her work. Work! Rella fix fire. Rella catch fish. They forced her to comb her fur and stick wildflowers in it. In spite of primping, Rella was sooty from the fire and was stinky of fish. When me snap for wolf and sparrow, whole tree place. Me pick all flowers. Power, power, power. Every year, the Bigfoot Prince gives a great fun fest. There were gifts and food and games, like jump the fire, bear cave hide and seek, and hurl the hemlock. But log rolling was the favorite. This year, whichever woman rolled the prince off the log and into the river would become his wife. Rella's puny sisters hoped to dump the prince. When we snapped for wolf and sparrow, whole tree place. Me picked all flowers. Power, power, power. So they smoothed their pitiful fur and put on their fine bark clogs to give the log. They clung to the fence. Me go too. You stay, catch plenty of fish. We catch prince. How Rella longed to go. Me was go fun fest. Me was no prince. I thought we should do it, so you stop. Rella was standing at her favorite fishing spot and spun around when she heard the voice. She was staring at a bear. Who are you? Me, your fairy godfather. Rella was very excited until she remembered she did not have any bark clogs to stay on the log. Me got no bark clogs to stay on log. Feet too big. Rella's fairy godfather smiled at her and sucked his paw through the air. Whoosh! Suddenly, an enormous pair of clogs appeared on Rella's feet. She tried them on and they fit perfectly. Then the bear waved the paw over her, and poof! The flowers her sisters put in her hair were gone.
With his magic, Rella turned even hairier, and her fur became more matted.
Rella was finally ready for the fun fest. Before her berry godfather left, he warned her to be back by sundown. Don't forget to be back before sundown, or else this will all disappear.
At the Fun Fest, there were Bigfoot women from every clan.
The games began, and one by one women leaped onto the log where the prince crouched ready.
One by one, he dumped them into the water.
Rella's stepsisters hated games, but to catch the prince, they'd do anything.
Even twirls walk. And they hoped a good drench might even wash off his stench.
But they never got the chance. When their turn came, the prince saw their combed fur with flowers and said, "No pick flowers to clean fur." After the sisters, many more Bigfoot women tried to toss the prince off the log with no success.
The prince was about to go home when suddenly Rella appeared, bounding onto the log, pounding her chest.
"Meet the prince!" Running with all her might, she spun the log like a big twig.
Then she gave it a twist and flew! The prince flopped into the river.
There was stunned silence. The Bigfoots were so slow-witted, so it took them a while to figure out what happened.
At last they began to chart.
Right, right, right! As they chanted, Rella began to notice the sun was setting.
Rella rushed into the dense tree, shrieking as a matted fur turned back into her combed fur. The flowers in her fur from before also returned.
The prince lurched from the water, dripping and crushed.
His dream woman shaggy as the forest and smelly as a fish was gone. Scratching his craggy head, he slumped down on the boulder. Then he saw one big bark called hers. Now perhaps he could find his princess.
The prince shuffled from snag to snag, cave to cave, looking the lost claw. But though all the Bigfoot women tried it on, it was too large for anyone.
Then he reached the cave of Rella and her stepmother and stepsisters. They pounced on the prince and grabbed the claw. Then she gave... Oh. Then she jumped in... Then they jumped into the clog, but their feet were so small, they all fit at one.
ended up yelling, "Me try, me try, me try, me."
She did, and her foot fit in the clog like a seed in a pod.
When she pulled out its mate, the Bigfoot prince knew he found its bride.
He thumped his chest and roared with joy.
The stepsisters roared too.
They were not happy.
Making a quick escape, Bigfoot Prince Cindrella ran far, far away.
A few days later, Rella and the Bigfoot Prince were married.
Even her stepmother and stepsisters could attend, as long as they remembered 3 simple rules. No